Welcome back, learners, on my channel Decode English with Supriya. So, today's chapter, as you can see, is the first chapter from your Beehive textbook, The Fun They Had by Isaac Asimov. Now, looking at this picture itself, you know that something technical is coming. So, the main characters of the story are an 11-year-old girl, Margie, and her neighbor Tommy. And you can see a mechanical teacher over here, right? So this mechanical teacher is like not a character, but then definitely plays a very important role in the story. Coming to the character brief, Margie, she is an 11-year-old girl who doesn't like her mechanical teacher. So, is she having a mechanical teacher? Yes. As the story is set in the year 2157, we see that we are talking of an era where students are sitting at their home for homeschooling and they are having mechanical teacher. Tommy. He's a 13-year-old boy who is Margie's friend and a neighbor. And this character actually discovers an old book, a real old book from the past, which belongs to his grandfather. He finds the book from an attic, which is generally a storehouse. Then there is Margie's mechanical teacher, definitely. Now, this teacher is a mechanical teacher, so definitely it's a machine and it is giving lessons and taking tests of Margie. The next character is the county inspector, who's basically a specialist who comes at Margie's house once to repair the mechanical teacher as it was malfunctioning. And then we have Margie's mother, who really takes care of Margie's education and thinks that, a child who takes lesson at a regular time learns better. Coming to the setting of the story, as I said, it is set in future. And this 2157, as I called it to be the Doraemon era, the 22nd century we are talking about, here the children, they don't go to schools. What happens is that the school is just adjacent to their room where they sit down with computers, that is their mechanical teachers, and it is basically a way of homeschooling, home learning. It is not like the way you had education during your COVID time. That was completely different. Your own teacher was teaching you online through, using technologies and all. That was different. Was like different. It was like digital classes. Over here, it is homeschooling. Coming to the summary of the story. Now, when I start with the summary of the story, as we already read that the story is set somewhere in 2157, and the story begins when this 11-year-old girl, Margie, she is writing in her diary that, something very unusual happened that day. What was that? Her friend, Tommy, he found a real printed book. Now, what's a real printed book? The book which we use nowadays, and it was found from an attic, which is basically a storehouse, and it belonged to the grandfather, his grandfather's grandfather. Now, books were really rare this time because these kids are into the usage of telebooks, as it is mentioned in the story. Now, what are these telebooks? These were like, digital books like on screen, like you have Kindle and all. And they were surprised that, how can a book be made up of paper? Even as per Tommy, it was just a waste. You know why? Because there were no moving text, the screen was not there, the words were fixed, which means that once a book is read, it needs to be thrown away. However, he doesn't like the idea of having this kind of paper books. He says that I can store so many books on my own screen which I have, the telebook which I have. This book, printed paper book, was useless as per him. Now, what is the book about? The book basically describes an old fashioned type of school, the way we have our schools nowadays, the current scenario, where children are coming together to study in a building, and then there is a human teacher. Now, Margie is finding it very strange that how can a human teach like a teacher? How can a human have so much of knowledge? That is not possible because obviously they are in a habit of taking their lessons from a mechanical robo, that is a teacher, mechanical teacher. So she was a little shocked about it, that how can this happen? How is this even possible? Now, meanwhile, all this is going on. Margie is being called by her mother that, she should go back to her school because it was time. And she was unhappy because of this mechanical teacher. Now, what this mechanical teacher looked like, it was basically a large screen, and then there was a slot where she had to put her homework and everything into punch codes. And then, the teacher would be giving the results of the test very immediately because it's a robo. So she was not liking this. And to add to the cherry on the top, it was like she was also performing poorly in geography. Now, it was a continuous thing that she was not doing well in geography. So the mother thought that probably there is some problem with the teacher, the mechanical teacher, and therefore she calls for the county inspector, basically a person who can repair this teacher. So it was found that, the geography sector of Margi was little geared up, which means it was at a more speed than required. So, which means they can have customized teachers, and definitely the repair was done. The teacher was okay, the machine was okay within a very limited time. But this disappointed the little girl Margie. Why? Because once it so happened that, Tommy's teacher's history section got completely blanked out. And because of that, they had to take the teacher of Tommy away for a month. So, definitely no studies for a month. So, obviously, Margie was also thinking that, she will get such kind of an escape. But it did not happen so. Now, coming back, Tommy is explaining Margie about the old kind of schools, okay, how they worked. He's telling that how the children of same age they were coming together to learn things together, and they would be helping each other out, and they were taught by human teachers. Now all this fascinates Margie, and she's like, "Oh wow, it is so beautiful. How can this all be possible?" Because obviously she's sitting all alone, and she's like not having any company. So definitely she's thinking that wow, it would have been so beautiful that they were having classmates, they were friends and everything. And she, while she was sitting at in her classroom, the classroom which she was sitting next besides her bedroom, she was just imagining all, fascinated by the idea that they were all coming together and sitting down at one place. And at the end of the story, while Margie is sitting in front of that mechanical teacher reluctantly, as she is not willing to, listen to what the teacher is saying, her mind keeps wandering back to the old kind of schools that it was described in the book. And we see how she's wishing that, she could experience the fun those children had in past. So basically, she wants to experience what you people are experiencing right now. And from that, we get to know what is the title of the story, the fun they had. Who are they over here? It is us, right? The students of today. Talking about the theme, I'll quickly go through these topics. First is impact of technology on education. We can definitely see that, technology gradually is making things a little vulnerable when it comes to human touch. Kids are not getting that connected, and we see that, at the end, when we see that the teacher, the mechanical teacher, was already giving lessons to Margie, and she was not at all interested, and she was thinking, and she was all in her stories. So the human element is lost, right? If there would have been a human teacher, probably she could sit down and discuss the things with the teacher. So obviously this goes away. Second, we see there's a comparison between isolation and community. She's sitting all alone in her room for taking that learning and education. However, if we talk about today, it's quite joyful, right? All sitting together in group and learning things together, learning similar things together. It's obviously more fun. Then it definitely talks about curiosity and imagination of this little girl Margie, where she is actually giving more values to the old kind of schools, how the human interaction and in learning things were taking place. She really wants to go there. And definitely the writer is touching us that nostalgia that can come only with simplicity, and that comes with human connection. So if you are into technological game, if you are into technology and you're progressing, okay, we do accept technology, but it cannot replace what humans can do. So basically, if we talk about the key idea of the story, it is bringing a contrast between the current situation where education is quite fun with human interaction and sharing of experiences, against the mechanical form of teaching, which can come in future where kids can find themselves isolated while learning a new lesson, right? Moving on with what can be important questions. One is a very common question, that why Margie was not liking her teacher, and why was she yearning for, what was she yearning for? So we see that Margie doesn't like the mechanical robot teacher because it is giving the homework and it is, taking tests, and she is not performing good in geography. And then she had to put all the answers into punch codes because obviously it's a machine. So then there was a slot, and the test results would be appearing immediately. So definitely she was not liking this. What is she yearning for? Definitely the old kind of schools, right? She's loving, she's adoring that how these kids were coming together. They could have fun, they could play, they could eat together, they could sit together. So she's actually thinking of all these things, and deep inside, she's wishing that, probably someday she would be able to touch all these things. Coming to the next, one of the most debatable question, that do you think mechanical teachers can replace human teachers? The answer can be very different for you, but being a person, I believe that human teachers can never be completely replaced with mechanical teachers. Reason being that the human element, like yes, definitely you can ask queries to your mechanical teachers as well, but then, and there will be definitely a major amount of set of examples with them, in which they can explain and stuff. But a teacher, a human, can definitely look into your eyes, uh, and tell that probably the child is not in a mood, probably he or she is not feeling good enough, probably he or she is not in a condition to take things today. And according to that, the human teacher can definitely change the pace, change the way she or he is teaching. So the involvement, the human involvement, can definitely never be replaced. The way a human can nurture a child, that element will be definitely missing when it comes to mechanical teacher. And as we all know, education is not only about taking lessons of science and maths and English and whatnot, but it is more about growing, right? So that growth is definitely impossible without the human element. So that's all for today's class. Thank you, everyone. Please like and share the video and subscribe to my channel for further such content. Thank you. Bye bye.